was like, okay, this is blue collar leadership. Okay, this is what I'm looking
Yes.
for. We started doing leadership book study, but man, that was life changing because at the end of the day, your team is going to be a reflection of who you are as a leader.
Hello, and thanks for checking out the Real People Getting Real Results show today. That we featured this on our Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel as a video, and it's also on the Blue Collar Leadership podcast as an audio. So thank you for listening or watching. And if you're not watching, there's going to be some things on the screen you may not see, but be sure to go check that out. And I got a great guest today. I'm really excited to share him with my audience and the world. He's a go-getter. He's a real deal, Mr. Carlos Cody. Welcome to the show, Carlos.
Man, Mac, I'm glad to be here. We've been knowing each other for some time, and man, just looking to add as much value as I can, as you've added value to me.
Yeah, man, I know you're a value adder. So do you remember how we even come to know each other, how you discovered me, or tell that story a little bit? I always
Yeah,
like people to know I actually know the people I'm
yeah,
interviewing at some level, but I know you pretty deep level.
yes, sir. So man, it started on LinkedIn. Saw one of your posts, reached out. You had your contact information, and I called, and you actually answered. So that's
I still
and
do.
and we were able to connect. And man, I think that first conversation we talked maybe it was over an hour, definitely. And man, we just connected on a lot of leadership principles. And then from there, man, reading your books, taking in all the knowledge, and man, you've just been really a mentor for me in my career, learning the principles and just being available. You've talked to me through some tough experiences. You've been there, and your insights have been invaluable. So, man, I really, truly appreciate you and everything that you're doing in the leadership space.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I checked back on our LinkedIn. It looked like March of 2019 is when we
See,
connected on LinkedIn. That may have been when that happened. That's been a while ago.
yes, sir. That's when. Yes, that is because that's when I did my first leadership book study with some of the leaders at Walmart. So, yep, that is 2019. Yes,
Was
sir.
that a book study with somebody else's book, or was that when we talked and you started doing something with my book?
Yep.
I can't remember.
It it was your book. It was the very first one, and I have
Frontline,
it.
probably the
It
Frontline
was
book, the blue jean
Yes,
looking
sir.
book.
Yes, sir. It was the blue one. That was the first one that I did a leadership book study. Man, after doing that, I saw my team get really inspired, and they became hungry. And even from that group of leaders, man, one of them's actually they're at the senior operations manager's role, and they were a lead. So in 3 or 4 years, they were able to take those nuggets that were taught. They actually was been on some of the calls that you all do with Jason Denham's group. So
Yeah,
man, it's some powerful stuff, man.
yeah. You've been getting on that call for a while too, and that's tomorrow. From the time
Yes,
at the
sir.
time we're
It
recording
is.
this, that'll be tomorrow. I think he's about to wrap up the ladder of influence with Rhea. I think he's on the last three. I really can't remember.
Yes, sir. It's the last one. One of the leaders that joined is taking their team through some of the book studies. So they've been handing out the book to their teams and trying to keep the other wheel running and keep the hungry fed.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So, tell me, you reached out to me in 19, but you were already growing. I was just another somebody you met along the way during your growth journey. If you don't mind, tell me how you became intentional about your personal growth journey, and tell me how all the way up to today, if you want to, if you want to just
Yes,
take
sir.
the stage and start. How did you get started on personal growth and development and
I
when?
could definitely. So I say it started just from sports, just playing football, having some really good mentors early on. And as football came to an end, my senior year, I took a leadership class. I don't know why I selected a leadership class, but I did. And the first book I read was one of John Maxwell's books, and I fell in love with it. Read the book in probably a week or two, which we had the whole semester, and I started to find my passion in personal growth and in leadership. And then shortly after that, football didn't work out, of course. Met another guy, and started working in the gym. And he had just this amazing vision. And I started seeing some of those leadership principles. And I said, man, something about this leadership stuff. I need to get some more books. I started looking at John Maxwell, and through
What
my
year was that,
career,
Carlos? You remember what
oh
year when
man,
you did that?
2012, 2013
Okay.
is when that journey really started for me. And then after that, when I got into supply chain, I was like, man, there's got to be some leadership stuff just for supply chain. And then I was on LinkedIn, and I came across your books. I was like, okay, this is blue collar leadership. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. And then when I read the book, I was like, man, for people that want to get started and for people that want to understand the principles, when I read the first chapter and it was more character focused, not just process, not just trying to get the results, but really developing the person, I was
Yep.
like, this is the leadership content that I need for the people that I work with. Because in operations, you're working 12, 14 hours a day. You hand someone a 500-page book, they're going to be like, okay, thank you for the gift, and it's going to sit on the shelf somewhere. But when you hand someone a book and it's just like, hey, listen, a page a day, 2 to 3 pages, it's going to take you 7 to 8 minutes. There's YouTube videos that you can watch. You can send to your team, and it makes it manageable. And people's like, okay. And then they're getting the nuggets, which is the transformational happens in the character. And then as they transform the character, their competence begins to be transformed from that standpoint. So, man, I've been on this journey, and it's crazy. The more you stay on this growth journey, the more you realize you don't know, and the more you keep diving in to more content. So,
Yeah.
it's a never ending journey. But that's when my journey started, and it's never gonna stop.
Yeah. I think you've read about all my books. I don't know if you really have, but you read a bunch of them.
Look, I have a special section on my bookcase just for your books. And man, for me, I just keep going back because you learn something new. And even the highlighted sections that I read, it's just like I'm in a different space, and it's something different that I get that I can apply. So I tell people, once you read a book, it's not just, you don't put the book down, right? You keep rereading because the principles change based off of certain situations that you're dealing with. And sometimes principles may not make sense when you read it, but as you move further along in life, one of those principles really sticks out. It's like, okay, this is what I need in this season. Let me keep reading, but not only reading, how do I apply it? How do I make it? How do I put action behind that principle today? And then through your books, I've also learned that teaching is helps you learn. So as I'm learning, okay, who can I share these nuggets with? Who can I bring along on that journey? And that's when it comes into LinkedIn sharing, or whether I'm sharing it with people when I'm speaking with them and they're sharing some type of experience. I was like, hey man, this what you're talking about is actually in this book, man. You should get this book. Let me send you the link, and I'll share with them something that I've read, and that's usually when their growth journey begins. So
Yeah, that's outstanding. I know. We I know you a big dog now. You worked your way on up in the ranks in the supply chain world and logistics and distribution. Is that what you call it? What you're doing? Uh,
yes, sir, in the logistics space, and I like to look at it. The higher you go, is the more people to serve. So I like to turn the pyramid upside down. So it's more responsibility, but it's also an opportunity to lead and to serve, and to create an environment where others can grow personally, and not just personally, but they can grow professionally as well. But for me, the impact is when team members, leaders, it doesn't matter, whoever is at home at that dinner table, sitting with their family, I want them to be saying something of how they're growing. I want them to be saying, man, uh, things I'm learning, man, it applies here. And I want not just them to be changed at work, but I want them to go home and be able to change the people that live with, that they're going to have the most influence with. So it's deeper than just a career, or just professional growth for me.
yeah, that's outstanding, man. And I'm really proud of you. You one of those guys who latched onto this stuff, like you said, 2012. That's been 12 years, man. You've been going and growing, and you ain't letting off the gas.
Ooh,
you're gonna have a super bright future. I mean, as you get older and older, you got all these years behind you. You've developed so many people. You've learned so much, and you're like me. Once you learn what you learn, that can't nobody tell you no, that it don't work. They can't tell you all that
Yep.
because you know.
Yes.
And and
Absolutely.
let me ask you to talk about a little something right there because I don't. You may remember or may know specifically, but you've led a lot of book studies, not just that first one. You've led a bunch of them, right? And a
Yes,
bunch
sir.
of them include and involve the frontline entry level workforce, right? So a lot of people I hear all over the country, blue collar folks don't want to read books. Some of them don't. Some white collar folks don't either. But I focus on the blue collar space, and a lot of those leaders who don't read books think their frontline team members don't want to read books. Can you
Yes, sir.
share what you've seen and especially some of those who really
Yep.
maybe hadn't read books but latched on because you introduced them to books and they went crazy like you did and I did? Have you
Yep.
got any stories like that?
Yes, sir. So I have a couple of stories. Man, I would say there's one individual in particular, Talisha. She's really taken a hold of the information. One of the hungriest people I've met. They have, man, gone from lead warehouse worker all the way to the same position as me in record time. So
Wow.
they're on a fast track. And not only that, they're bringing other people along. There's other leaders that have mentored that I spoke with recently. Man, have seen three promotions just from being hungry, just from learning. And then even in the current position I'm in now, what most people desire out of their career is growth and development. And it takes a leader to understand that it's something that it's a hunger for people, but to draw at that hunger, you have to be doing the work yourself. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that, if a leader's not reading and someone comes to them like, "Hey, I want to grow and develop in the company," the standard answer is, "Yeah, we got these great resources, but as a leader, you understand that, okay, this person wants to grow. Hey, man, let's read this book, let's talk, because we know that the growth is in the connection. And as you're involved with that person growing and they're saying, hey, I'm reading this book. Hey, there's a book that I started with I think will be great. I'll do a book study with you. I'll even get the book for you. The only thing I ask is that you read."
Yeah.
So that's the one thing, if you read. And what I find is when you take a active investment in people and you buy a resource and you get them started and they see you and you're sharing what you're learning and then they're sharing what you're learning, it gets really how I can say contagious. So every time you see this person, they're just like, "Hey man, I read this in the book," and then it's like we're on chapter one, they're on chapter five, and I kept just reading. I know we said we're gonna do chapter one, but I'm on chapter five. Uh,
That's good stuff.
and even from the front line, I think you had came to visit when I was at GXO,
Yeah.
and man, we had a team member that, man, they ate that book up. They joined a network marketing. They shared it with their whole team, and they didn't see the results in the company, but they were telling me how it was impacting their life outside of work, how they went and they were started doing some great things from a network marketing space because they bought the sales book and they realized it's me, like it's me who needs to change. I'm selling myself, I'm influenced.
Oh
And
yeah.
then to see that person. Yes,
So
sir.
you talking about who's buying you? And my
Yes,
book, my
sir.
sales book, "Who's Buying You?" Until you sell yourself, you won't sell much, right? They
Yes,
figured
sir.
that out. I got to sell me before I can sell my stuff. Nobody
They
wants to buy
did.
me. They don't want me to offer them some stuff.
Absolutely, and they shared with me because we were running low on hours, and just from a business standpoint, we didn't have the work, but they took it upon themselves, like, "Hey, I'm gonna work on my business." They came back and was like, "Hey, man, after reading that book, my sales are up. I'm making an extra $500. I got a team now." And then they started selling me selling me some stuff, and I purchased not because of the product, but because of the person. And
Yeah.
that's when I was like, "Yep, that's the principle of the book, right? I'm not buying the product. I'm buying it because it's you, and I
Perfect.
want to
Yeah.
help support." So man, it's people that's hungry, and as businesses, we have to find out a way to feed those hungry people, or someone else will. So that's it's a lot of hungry people out there, Mac, and they're wanting it, and we just have to be a vessel to be able to point them in the right direction with the right resources.
Yeah. Carlos, how many people, and maybe currently or maybe somewhere in the past, but what's the most people you've had reporting to you, like below you,
Woo.
not below you as a person, but in the org chart?
The most was Amazon, and it was anywhere from 900 team members all the way up to 1,200 to
Wow.
1,500 during peak season. And the most leaders I've had has been a total of 12 um, salary level leaders that have reported up to me.
Yeah, man. And so, how have you seen you personally dealing with? Let's talk about those first, the 12 leaders, the ones when it ain't got to be them specifically. It could be any leaders in general. But when the leaders who report to you, how have and you know this very well because you've been there along your journey, right? You've been there the whole time from time you
Yes, sir.
started. But how has you developing you helped you lead those leaders better?
Man, it's as simple as this. You can't give what you don't have. And if you're not pouring in, you have nothing that flows out. A lot of people ask me, man, how are you writing all this content on LinkedIn? I'm like, man, I'm reading every day. It's
How
just
much
it's
fun? Mhm.
it's like it's not a matter of how much to write. It's like what do I write or what I'm learning. And I also share with people know a lot of the times sharing is helping me learn. So it's a two-part thing. And then one of the of course one of my favorite book is your lean book. So that 80/20 of okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about process improvement, we're gonna get to all of that, but these first minutes are going to be geared towards a leadership truth. And I try to have those moments with the team where it's not just teaching a process improvement, it's not just teaching a routine or standard, but having those moments of okay, here's our leadership principle for the week. We're going to control what we can control. What does that mean? We show the iceberg. Okay, what's in our control? Okay, what can we influence? And then what are the things that's outside our control. So I think it just comes with as you're learning, you're pouring out and you're sharing with others, and then from that standpoint you really get to see who the hungry people are. They'll come up to you, they'll make themselves known. It never fails. It's going to be at least one or two people that say, hey man, I really love that principle. You inspired me. Hey, I want to learn more. And that's when leadership becomes fun, when you have those leaders that have bought in, because you just have a different connection because you found someone that's hungry. And then as you keep feeding over a while, man, you get this large group of people that wherever they go, they always remember. You stay connected, and that's how you build a leadership network of people that you're always connected to. You talk every now and then. We at some point, someone comes to a challenge, we talk, hey, how are you dealing with this, or how did you deal with that? Hey, this is how I dealt with it. This is where I got this nugget from. And then that journey just continues to grow. But I would tell everybody you can't give what you don't have. So make sure you're pouring in so that you have a well to that flows through you of leadership truths and principles.
That's so good, Carlos. You're just awesome, man. I love you. I loved you from the beginning. You ain't never stopped. I just love hearing your story. I mean, I'm really glad you was able to make time to get on the show because anybody who watches this Real People Getting Real Results show, I want them to know you and follow you on LinkedIn and watch what you're doing and reach out to you if they hungry, right? They ain't nothing better than feeding somebody who's hungry.
Yes, sir. No, nothing like it. Nothing like it at all.
So you were talking about 900 to 1,200 people at that one time, and did you ever go out and talk to the folks on the front line when you have that many people? I know you
That is
did. I want you to talk about that because there's a lot of leaders, Carlos. I just made a post just the other day. This I remember back when we went to do this leadership development support for this little tiny organization, and I mean, they wasn't 10 people working there. And the top leader told me they never, sometimes they'd go a whole day and never talk to any other people. I'm like, how?
man.
In a little bitty
How?
building, man. How does that happen? I know how it happens because that person don't have any care for the people. It's all
Yep.
management instead of leadership.
Yep.
But talk about that. When you got that many people, how did you leverage leadership
Yep.
to go out? I mean, why did you do it? Why
Yep.
and what did it look like?
Man, at the end of the day, I say the people that are going to solve the problems, one, those are your frontline team members, and then it's a leader's job really to create that environment that others can thrive in. So if you're not walking the floor, if you're not aware of the issues, and you're not tending to the team, how are you going to know what to solve? If not, you'll be in the office, think that you're solving problems, you'll roll it out, and the team will be like, why in the world they do this? So, you have to make it a priority. So for me, with a large team like that, I just made it a priority on different days, like different departments. You realize you can't touch everybody, but you start with touching one, and then what ends up happening is you start to speak life in others. You start to believe in others because your belief and how you feel about others, they feel it. It can't be faked. You can say all of the right words, but if you truly don't believe in the people that are working with you, that are on the front lines, the ones that are utilizing their body, their energy, to produce a product or to produce some type of unit of measure, then you're not leading because people feel that belief. So you have to make it a part of your daily routine to go out to instill that belief, to celebrate the successes, the small wins, the progress. And the only way you can do that is by being present, and actually talking to the people. Hey, how's it going? How's your family? As you learn these things about people, word starts getting around. One person's like, hey man, Carlos came and telling me this great news. I didn't even know he recognized some of the things I've been doing. He said he saw me the other day. And you give those examples, not just say, hey, great job, keep doing it. No, hey, man, I really appreciate how you went and helped another team member out yesterday. I was walking, I saw that, and I want to come out here to let you know that that's the type of character we want on our team. And I really, truly appreciate it. Hey, what's your name? How long you been with the company? You get into those questions. And then as you do that day over day over day over day, uh, positive influence starts to build up. And as you're doing it with your leaders, you start to replicate yourself. And what ends up happening is everything is an extension of your character. And as you're leading your team, the team starts leading the people. And now it's just everything is connected and congruent. And it all starts with how we treat our team members. It all starts with how we treat our leaders. Because at the end of the day, your team is going to be a reflection of who you are as a leader. And if you're a great leader, some of that a lot of those principles are going to reflect to the team. And if you're micromanaging, not caring for your leaders, then that's what's going to happen to the front lines. But at the end of the day, as a leader, you have to be on the floor. And one other thing that I did too while I was at Amazon was my desk was out on the floor.
Yeah,
I had
man.
an
Tell me
office.
about that. That's good stuff right there.
I had an office, but I found a way to set up where I was in the middle of the building. So at any
Wow.
time anybody wanted to, talk to me, they could. And I was honest with people. Like if I was going to a meeting and I knew this was going to be a long conversation, I was like, hey, I am going to meeting, but when can I come back and talk to you? And I actually made sure I came back and talked to that person. So people just want you to be upfront. They want to see you, they want to talk to you, and you need to be in an area where people have that opportunity. I know other leaders are like, well, man, how you get your job done? This is my job. Taking care of the people is absolutely, my job, and I want to be close and I want to be connected. And as I have to step away, you just plan for it. And that just comes with a lot of leadership skills that you learn how to prioritize your time. And the main thing is you have to prioritize people. The only managers that I see that struggle with that is the ones that don't prioritize people. Yeah, you don't have time for something you don't prioritize, but if you prioritize it, you have plenty of time for it. So I'd say that was some of the things that has just led, to impacting the people, but not only impacting the people, on a leadership side, you get your best results for talking through issues with the team. Hey, team, this is what we're trying to accomplish. I know you all have a lot of great ideas, and we want to make sure to give you the opportunity to present those ideas. Here's what we're trying to solve, and let the team go. Oh yeah, we can do this. We can. Oh, I've been doing this, and you hear all their ideas, and people feel heard and understood. And I tell you, Mac, you get to a place where you're like, all right, we got 20 ideas. We got to get started on some of these. Let's keep let's keep some of these because the ideas keep coming because the team realize, hey, this is a leader I can go talk to. This is a leader that listens. This is a leader that hears, and they want to keep sharing. So I would just tell leaders, man, never lose focus of the most important aspect of your business, which is the people.
Yeah, that's you got good stuff, Carlos. You just dropping it out nonstop. Tell me though about I got to know about the desk. How'd you get this when you're leading 9 or 1,200 people, right? And you
Yes,
got a
sir.
probably got a nice office with all the other folks in the office somewhere. And how did when you walked in, you didn't have the desk on the floor. That was your
Yep.
choice. Nobody put you there. You decided to do it. How did that thought process? What led you to
Yep.
that? What was it like? What did everybody else have to say about it? The other leaders, and tell me about that part.
Yep. So actually, I found the space on the floor when we were due startup. I realized, okay, everyone's here in the morning. I was like, let me get with my, the equipment team. Hey, can I get two screens set up right here and a desk? I want to, be right here. That's like, hey, man, yeah, sure, no problem. So got that worked on. Had my two screens. So literally right by startup, that's where my area was, and that became where I would time I would come in. I wouldn't go to the back. I put my stuff in the refrigerator and then it's right to the floor. I would sit up there. I would catch the team that was leaving. They would bring me, hey, this is what we dealt with. Man, glad you're here. Can I show you something real quick? It's really going to impact your shift. Or then I would walk with them and I would just get so much, information just from being out there. But it was just being intentional. It's just okay. This is where I want my area to be. This is what I want to set up. I let the team know, hey, if you ever have anything and you all need me, this is where I'm at. If I have meetings, I let the team know, hey, I have a meeting. I need to be in a quiet space for this one. I'll have it, but most of the times that is where the team could find me, and if they couldn't find me there, I was, on the floor because I was getting just as many steps as my team, as my manager. 14, 18,000 steps, man, a day at work, just walking around, engaging with the team. And that's I made it my part, and I got a lot of that from just books I've read. Like one of the things I'm doing now in my current position, if I have five cards, I walk around. I was like, all right, who can I write a quick note, a hand card, and I've done it. And I always make sure on those cards I add something. Like one of my leaders has three daughters, and I made sure on that card it said something about you all should be proud of your dad. He is doing an amazing job, an amazing leader. And he, every day he comes here, his why is you all, and making sure that it's something personal, and just hand those cards out, just being intentional. Like, okay, I'm going to hand out five cards this week. The personal touch goes a long way. But man, it's just nothing like being on the floor in the action. Now, some of the people didn't like that I was on the floor. There's a thing that goes around that, hey, leaders, you got to separate yourself from the people. You got to be,
I ain't buying
uh,
that one.
you need to separate, and managers, we have to stick together. I'm like, well, I don't. I might have a management title, but I know better. And
I'm glad you do.
leadership is about influence, and I can't influence people that don't see me. I can't influence people I can't connect with. And at the end of the day, yeah, I could lead with the iron hand, but time I walk away, all right, forget what he said. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's how it works, right?
It
So
is.
so tell me, you ain't gotta obviously knowing you ain't gotta say where, when, any names, and you ain't even gotta say anything if you don't want to. You say, I skip that. But have you I lead and mentor a lot of folks like you, the real go getters, the people who understand leadership, not management, right? And but I know I hear a lot from a lot of folks that y- for whatever reason they struggle a lot with the leaders
Yep.
above them because the leaders above them don't want to lead, they want to manage. So then when they get a leader like you that comes into an organization, it causes all kind of friction
Yep.
for you because you're having to fight that battle. And I know a lot of folks just like you who talk to me all the time because I'm helping mentor them through that battle. Can you describe or anything you'd like to share for leaders who are like you, who are because all of you, unless you own your own company, you got to fight that battle most of the time because most of the time when there's somebody like you, Carlos, they ain't somebody like you above most of the time. Hardly ever is there a leader who's leading at your level above you as you go into these organizations, which you figured out already. And so can you share some of your struggle, give somebody some
Yep.
tips how to deal with that who maybe they just starting out. Maybe they're a team
Yep.
leader or a supervisor, entry level, and they just latched onto this stuff and they don't know what's coming, do they?
Nope.
They think, man,
um,
this is awesome. Until they gets pushed by a manager up above. Share something about any of your journey related to that.
yep. Yep. So I would say the first thing is always take complete ownership. And what I mean by that is at any given point, you're not dealing with another person. You're dealing with the man in the mirror, which is yourself. So it goes back to that principle: control what you can control. Once you get into leadership stuff, you begin to have a confidence in who you are, what you stand for, your values, and there's some things that you can't compromise on. But at the end of the day, you in a leadership position, you're also a follower. So you have to lead with respect. That means you do need to respect whoever is above you, um, as long as it doesn't cross those values, and you have to be okay with those consequences. If someone has a micromanaging style, fear-based leadership, and that's not who you are, you have to be okay with being true to who you are, being authentic, and having a conversation. Is a very tough thing to do, is having that conversation, because at the end of the day that person does have quote unquote control over how you kind of progress in your career. But if you're standing on values, you're standing on principles, you have to be true and just understand that when you in those situations, and you're going to be in those situations if you're reading Mac's book, or if you're reading anything on leadership development that deals with character, you're going to deal with that. And all of Matt books teach you how to navigate that. And then you will find out that as you become that person, you'll become higher desirable and you'll have options.
Yeah.
So you will never be tied to poor leadership. You'll never be tied, because at the end of the day, regardless of who's ever at the top, every company wants a leader. Why does every company want a leader? Because they want what leaders do, which is deliver results. Now, if you find a leader that understands leadership principles, they'll understand that how you deliver results is not by management, it's through leadership. And you'll find yourself in a really great situation where your opportunities become endless. But when you're dealing with a manager or with someone that has just different viewpoints, you serve, you stay humble, you stay respectful. You don't, well, I know leadership. You do what you need to do, and you control what you can control, and you try to influence. Hey, I'm reading this book. Maybe you want to read this book too. Hey, but after a certain while, if you realize that, hey, I'm not making any headway. Hey, this isn't working, then that's when you need to take control of your career. You need to take control of your options, and you need to start assessing, hey, maybe this isn't a good fit. Maybe this isn't the right, not the right organization, just maybe this isn't the right leader that I need to be under. Because one thing I have realized is that the leadership at the top is what's going to flow down, and you can control the impact of your team. But at the end of the day, when it starts coming down, and now the whole team chemistry is off, because of one leader's decision to lead with fear of micromanagement. It creates a toxic environment, and sometimes the best thing that you can do as a leader is to choose to walk away from what's toxic and find something that is going to align with your leadership. And that gets into some other stuff, man. Me and you have talked about, Mac. You got to become good at interviewing the people that are interviewing you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because people can talk culture all day. We care. We want to help you grow. We want to help you win. And it's like, whoo, that sounds great. And then time you get in, you realize, like, okay,
They don't
what
know what they
was
talk about. That's the truth, ain't it?
it's, it's like what was stated and what's actual is two complete different things. Okay, it sounded good, but that's not the case. But just make sure you interview the person that's interviewing you, and to try to put yourself in the best situation. Um,
Yeah. That
but
that'd be like me interviewing somebody and say, "Yeah, we're gonna teach you some trigonometry and some physics, calculus and all that stuff." And I'm talking it up, but then you get in there and I don't even know how to do math.
oh man, no, that's exactly it. But you just have to ask questions. Like if people say they care about people, hey, give me an example of a time you cared for a leader or a team member. And
Uh,
if you,
I
well,
bought pizza last week. I bought everybody pizza. I didn't go in there and eat it with them. I just bought it and dropped it off.
We bought the pizza, but we left out the part that we used the pizza to get everybody together to have a beatdown session.
Yeah, it's the truth though, right? That's what happens.
Oh,
That's what happens. And have you ever, just talking about that, have you ever led a book study where your leaders were in the book study and you were leading it? Has that ever happened? Never happened.
I have not had, man, at one place I had a leader discourage it. Um,
I've heard
yeah,
that from
have,
more folks than just
yep,
you. I've heard that
yep.
from a lot.
Yep, even team members that wanna do it on time off, it's come, "Well, the policy, and technically we can't, and technically you can't talk the team members off the clock, and technically," and it just came a whole bunch of "Okay, so technically we don't want to grow and develop the people." That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Technically, we can't lead. Technically, we can't lead anybody. We got to manage
Yep,
everybody like they're an object, right? That's
yep,
that's the sad truth, though. That's where a lot of people work. They work in those organizations, and like you said, when they start reading my type content, whether it's my stuff or somebody else's, they start to realize that. And unfortunately, a
yep,
lot of people become reactive. That doesn't help them. They end up
nope.
being a part of the problem instead of a part of the solution, especially for themselves, but also for their team members. But I want to ask you before I forget about it, and we still got plenty of time, but you mentioned my lean book. And for those who don't know about that, it's called Blue Collar Kaizen Leading Lean and Lean Teams. Ria's got the link to the screen. You can go check out any of these books we've been talking about,
Yep,
bluecollarleadership.com/download. But
yep.
that book, you've told me many, many times that book's your favorite book. But I wrote that book for anybody who don't know. I wrote it. I was a lean consultant, right? I led over 11,000 hours leading Kaizen teams through process improvement. I wrote it for people like me who are leading Kaizen events. And you've never been a consultant, or that's not been your job to physically lead
Nope,
Kaizen event every week after week after week. But what even caused you to read the book? And then what was it about that book that
yep.
you latched onto? Because I don't know, did you just read it because you read my other books and you liked them? You're like, what is this book about? Or tell me about why you even read it.
Man, so I love process improvement, and not just from a standpoint in the business. I look at that book as it is a transformational book for anyone wanting to lead a team. And what I mean by that is, as a leader, you're a problem solver. You never ever stop problem solving, and the higher up you go, the bigger the problems, the bigger or the better your problem solving has to be. But at the same time, the higher you go, the more removed you are from the problem and the issues. And that book to me is not just a process improvement book, it's a people improvement book. It really teaches you how to delegate. It really teaches you some of those skills that you need to learn, because at the end of the day, as a leader, the most important thing that you can do, or your greatest return, is going to be in the people that you develop. And when you're able to teach and train people how to, one, improve their self, their character, and their competence, because that character is going to drive the thing that every business talks about but just doesn't quite understand, which is culture. And I tell people culture is a very intangible thing that drives very tangible results. And what I mean by that is the culture. I know people may have seen the quote, "How do you feel when you know you're about to go into work for the week? Is it a good feeling? Is it an anxious feeling? Is it, is it a positive or negative feeling?" That is letting you know the culture. Now, that's not something anybody has done, but it's something, it's a feeling. It's something that can't be measured, but it carries so much weight. When people feel inspired, when people feel motivated, when people feel that they're excited about the workday, they know there are going to be challenges. There's no other things they're going to do they don't like, but they're genuinely excited. That's culture. And that book, to me, helps me understand how to shape that culture. It talks about setting intentions as a leader, which I think is so important. Oftentimes we just show up, go to our meetings, and whoo, what a day! I was busy all day, but you look back, it's like, okay, what did I get accomplished? Who did I impact? Who did I empower? Who got better? Did anything even change because I was there for the day? And that book really shows you how to do that. And I would advise that anyone that's in a leadership role, leading a team, there is not a better book I can find that has all of the principles and everything, the key things that you need to not only lead a team, but to really improve and help people transform, and then help people to solve problems and help other leaders. lead their teams. And that's why that's one of my most favorite books. It's just I just actually finished it up last week.
Again, though, right?
I did
Yeah.
again, again.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
'cause I wanted to make sure the audience knows, not you just finished it up the first time.
again, I keep going back to it. Man, it's a very impactful book, and I get something different every time. And for me, this time it was really about, okay, what intentions am I setting for the day? What intentions or priorities am I, giving the team? And then, hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish, and leaving that how up to the team. And then I kept sharing with the team the character and competence piece. A lot of teams focus on confidence, but I'm like, y'all, that character, it's gone. It's
That's I mean, that's the magic pill right there.
it
That's the missing
is.
link for any
It
team
is.
that's not performing. It ain't the competency. Everybody's got way too much. I mean, more than they need. Most people got more, especially as a team. When you combine everybody's competency, you got more than you need of competence.
Exactly. Exactly. But if you're a leader that can draw that out, because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and at the end of the day, it just comes down to, all right, it's influence. At the end of the day, it's all influence. If the team respects you, if the team would follow you without your title, you're doing something right, and you can sense that culture. Right, like currently right now, we have a lot of leaders that's out. We have a lot of leaders on lead. It's a lot of pressure, but I'm happy to say, the team that I'm currently leading, we just had one leader get promoted. No one is, out. And, the team, we let each other know each and every day that we appreciate each other. Uh, and man, it's powerful. My team is the reason I keep going. Let me just say that, because they are a hungry team. They work together. They're unified. They collaborate, and I'm seeing so much growth. And it's not just personal. I mean, it's not just professional. It's things that personally. And you experience that when you get those. You and I know, Mac. When you get those messages, man, from the team that just comes out of blue, it's like, hey, man, I really appreciate you. Like, you're helping me grow the things that you're doing. I want to learn more in leadership. And then they start taking those steps, right? I'm going back to school. There's three team members on our team right now that have made the decision to go back to school, and I check in on them. Hey, man, I'm all A's, man. I told you I'm on it. I'm on it. I said, man, keep up making it happen. And seeing people like that is what keeps my leadership tank full, because that's what it's all about to me at the end of the day, is how do we impact those people.
Yeah, you said something there I want you to touch on, and again, just share much as you want. But you talked about the personal side, and I know you used to reach out to me quite often. You was always you got your new little boy now, but you had your nephew before, and I remember you were leading him through book study. I think
Yep.
using my book, 10 Foundational Elements of Intentional Transformation: How to
Yes,
Become Your
sir.
Best Self, and I even got him on the phone and talked to him. Can you share, if you want to, if you're comfortable with it, sharing you know your role in his life and
Yep.
how, because he seems to be an exceptional young man, and that's
Yep.
because of your leadership at home. Talk about that
Yes, sir.
personal side. That's just a great example if you can share it.
Yes, sir. So, man, we've had Devin, my nephew, maybe four years now. So I will
Meaning
say
he lives
this.
with you full time.
Yes, sir. He's with us full time.
Yep.
He is actually starting on his football team. Didn't play at all last year. One of the things that really been working on is just mindset, his belief in himself, and I'm just avid on. I'm gonna do it. Watch. I'm gonna try to be the best examples I can be. So I try to make sure he sees me reading. That when we're in the car playing some type of motivation, some type of nugget, so he's getting things, and he's starting to learn. So we're also a part of another group called Iron Sharpens Iron. That's just through our church that we go to on Saturdays. It's really helped. But I say the biggest thing is realizing that it takes a village. And what I mean by that is also understand that as an uncle, I'm not a one stop shop, meaning there's other men that needs to be in his life. There's other men that need to coach him. There's other men that need to speak life. So one of the things that I've just been trying to do more of is just get him exposed to as many people as many different things as possible. So the things that I try to influence him on, if he hears it from someone else, is different. I can say something 30 times, and then a friend of ours can say, like, hey, man, you need to do that. He's hooked. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I just said this. I know. I said, I just said this. He didn't get it from me, but it's just
He
understanding
wasn't
that.
paying no attention when you said it.
But hearing it from someone else, it's a difference maker. And then even with my son, just trying to speak life. Words are so powerful, and even though he may not understand, I just try to make sure I'm telling him constantly, "I love you. I'm proud of you. You're gonna do great things. You're a leader." And I just want to keep.
How old is he now?
Ah, man, 3.
3.
He's
Won't be
3.
long though. He'll be ready for some 7 Habits for Happy Kids. Do you know about that book, Carlos?
No,
It's a
I don't.
yeah. You need to get
Oh,
that one.
Seven
You need
Habits of Happy Kids.
Yeah, it's like a big picture book. It's meant for I think 6 years, and up when they wrote it. But today it might be ready for 3-year-olds. they, they learning so much faster. The kids are, and especially with a parent like you. And I've never met your wife, but I'm sure she's got to be exceptional to be hanging out
Yeah.
with you and you hanging out with her. Y'all got something special going on there. I'm sure.
Yes, sir. She keeps books. Like each night she's reading something to him, a picture book. Like he's getting in the habit. Like he gets in bed, he's grabbing his book, and he's man, he's definitely engaged. So we just want to pour as much as we can, and at the same time realize like, hey, nothing can be forced. All we need to do is just guide, create those opportunities, and just expose them to as much as we can, and just love them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. You gotta get that book though and get it. I mean, you may be ready to start using it. I remember I shared with a maintenance guy in Texas one time about that book, and it was sometime later. I don't remember how long, but I remember the day I was in my garage at home and he called me up on a weekend and I answered and he was in tears, man. He said I started going through that book with my grandson who was 5 or 6. He
Yep.
said, and I had been actually a lot of the Kaizen book that blue collar Kaizen, a lot of those stories that I tell in there was when I was supporting that guy's company. So a lot of he
Nice,
was involved. I call the maintenance team tip of the spear. The maintenance team, they were bought in. They were helping us make all that stuff happen. They were gung ho.
nice.
They loved the leadership. They loved the lean, and he was one of those maintenance guys who helped make it happen. But he said, "Man, I started doing that." He said, "I got a relationship with my grandson that I didn't even know I could have, and he just latching onto this, and he valued those principles so much that when he started sharing that 7 Habits for Happy Kids book, he didn't have any idea he could teach, you know, impact the young kid's life with those principles. And then they got 7 Habits for Teens too. That might be another good
Oh,
one for your nephew. And Ria talks about it a lot. She likes, 7 Habits for Teens. And John Maxwell's got Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn for teens. If you didn't know that, he's got a teen version. So I share those things with you. And if y'all watching, if you ain't watching and you listen to the podcast, the whole time I've been talking, Carlos doing what Carlos does. He's taking notes. He's writing
yeah.
these things down. He gonna get them ordered. That's what high impact people do. Them things I'll be ordered for the end of the day, knowing Carlos.
I am definitely going to order, man. I just ordered some smaller books, which I've got right here. I want to go through some of the John Maxwell smaller series books, just a
Yep.
lot of nuggets.
Yeah, man.
Um, and then I think, man, I'm about to go back through in the morning. Which hold on, I need to grab it real quick. This book
Okay.
here, you got a special place on my bookshelf, so it's easy to grab all of them.
Look, I recognize some of those. Which ones you missing? You done read about
Oh,
all of those. Are you actually missing any that I need to send you
um,
one?
I think I have all of them. I'm pretty sure. I think I need to get the updated one. This is the one I was using at Amazon during our
Yeah, we got a
startup
volume
meetings.
too.
A volume 2. That's the only one I think that I'm missing on. And about to go back through this one in the morning. So I'm gonna read a chapter in the morning of this and start sharing some transformational tips with the.
That's good. Anybody from America, the U.S. who does one of these shows with us, we send them a signed book as a thank you, a small token of appreciation. Do you want that volume 2 of the toolbox tips? You want us to
Oh,
send you that?
man, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I will
man.
take it.
So text me. Make sure when we're done, text me your mailing address. Make sure I got that, and we'll get that to you on the way. So I appreciate
Nice.
that. So
Yes,
I want to
sir.
ask you. Actually, I want to touch back on the Kaizen book. Maybe why you like that book so much is because all the stuff I talk about and teach about, what I'm sharing in there is when I was learning to apply it. 11,000 hours leading teams, different team every week, 6 to 8, 10 people. Most of the time they hated me on Monday. They didn't like me. But all the stories you heard is, I mean, there's some people and they can lead a team 6 months and they can't connect
Yep.
with them. And I had to do it
Yep.
really in a day or two because I didn't have a week to connect. We got to get
Yep.
results by Friday. So I had to connect like fast as I could get
Yep.
going on Monday and Tuesday. So that book, maybe that's why you liked it, because it was all this stuff honed into to really how did I do it. And I'm not anything special, but those principles are special. And
Yep.
every single week was awesome. Even no matter how much
Yes.
they hated me on Monday, every single week was awesome. That's why
Yep.
I'm like you. They ain't nobody can tell me this stuff don't work. They can't tell. It'd be like somebody trying to tell me gravity don't work.
Yep.
Okay, whatever you
Okay.
think. Get me off the side of that bridge. It don't work. Let me watch you fly off the side of it. So,
Oh man.
so I want to just ask you a couple of different ways, especially from a leader standpoint.
Yep.
How you deal with toxic people now versus maybe in the past? Have you
Yep.
grown? Has it been an evolution of whenever you're first? You remember what year your first leadership position was when somebody was reporting to you? What year was that?
Man, 2000 and ooh, 2016. I'll say 2016, 17.
2016 was the first time you were a boss, a leader, woman of
Yes, sir.
authority, whatever somebody wants to call it. You had
Yes,
people
sir.
reporting to you, and you've been in a role like that ever since 2016.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so if you've grown, there ain't no doubt your whole journey you've been dealing with toxic people on your team. Can you share how, as you've grown as a leader,
Yep.
the way you dealt with toxic people has changed?
Yep.
Share. That'd probably be really some good stuff you about
Yep.
to drop.
So I would tell people it all starts with setting the expectations, the values, who you are as a person. And over the years, it's grown. So I would say starting out as a lead, it was a little bit different. So I'm gonna kind of take through a journey of how that's grown, how that's changed. Starting out as a lead, I just kind of took the toxic. Just being honest,
It's just
didn't
part
know
of it.
what
We need
that
them
was
for the
just part of.
conflict.
We needed. But even in that role, I started progressing. Thinking six months of that role, I got promoted to a supervisor. I started to look at it a little bit different. I started noticing when I'm walking the floor and team members mentioning certain names over and over and over and over again. Then I started to realize, like, man, we're promoting a lot of people that have the skill, but they can't lead others. And I tell people there's a difference. So I started looking at leadership different, dealing with toxic people. It's like when people make representations, man, this person is great, they get the job done, and I'm like, that's great, but if I promote them, everyone's production that's 100% goes down to 50 because can't nobody stand that person.
And they're gonna be talking about them. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna be withholding production. They're gonna be sabotaging quality. They're gonna
Yep.
be delivery, all kind of stuff. Right? I can't work this weekend when you need me because I just can't. Even though it's I'm just frustrated with your leadership,
Yeah.
letting us have to deal with this toxic
Yeah.
person. That's all that kind of stuff happens, right? I
It
love you,
does.
Carlos. You're awesome.
And people ask like, hey, who's working today? They're like, such as, I don't know, I can't make it. And then you just start to know these trends. So then you have to have those tough conversations, and tough conversations can be done in love. It's just, hey, this is it, it's just like a manager would manage, I guess you can say, but you just say, hey, this is some of the feedback I'm getting back from the team. This is what we're hearing. Here's the values that we want to have. Hey, I have a resource. I want to help you. I see the potential in you. Now you're speaking to belief. You gave the feedback. You gave that I guess you can say that hard little woo. Oh man, that hit. That hurt a little bit. But as a leader, now it's just like I believe in you. Now I can't make you do anything, but I want you to let's let's set some time. I want you to take this. Let's read. Let's talk through it. And as we talk through it, I want to help you come up with an action plan or game plan of how we can improve. Now that person has a choice in that moment. They can either take the feedback, not take it. They can start to act and read. Now, if that person's willing, I'm willing to work with them. But if they can't do this and we can't read and we keep having the same issues, it's my role also as a leader at that point to say, hey, this is not, the maybe an opportunity that's going to work. and you go your separate ways. But at the end of the day, it's your job as leader to make sure that the culture and the environment is protected from people that are, choosing to, I guess you can say, be toxic and choosing not to lead, but manage people. So at those situations, you can go your separate ways. Now, how have grown up now, it's at such a level that sometimes you're not even aware of a lot of the issues that's happening. So that's why being on the floor and being present is so critical. So people can, you want people to bring you stuff. You don't want people not to feel like they can't talk to you. And then it's the same thing. You start hearing the same names. You start hearing a department or, hey, this section is struggling. Well, why is the section struggling? Man, it's a little toxic or it's a little hostile. Oh, okay. That's where I need to go. So then you go and you start asking questions, you start meeting with people, and you start to find that it's an individual that's managing, it's an individual that isn't leading, or it's an individual that's not present and they're not even aware of what's going on in the department. And those are the things that you usually can get in front of and you can handle because the team sees you present. You have those expectations. The team knows what your values are, and most times people want to do the right things. Most times I have found that people like being a part of a team where they're valued and growth is there. So usually they give you more than what's required. So lately, I would say in this position with the current team I haven't had those issues. The team is quick to see, oh no, we don't want that on our team. That's not the behavior that we want, and we have the conversations and we keep going. But as a leader, if you're creating that environment, most people want to do the right thing, and most people will get on board. They just need a little motivation, a little help, and know that, hey, I believe in you. You can absolutely do this, but we do have to get these things corrected, and I'm going to be there to help you. I just can't do it for you. You're going to have to, take some initiative and do it. But if you're willing to do it, I'm willing to continue to work with you. And that's just people letting people know that it's character, it's over competence. Now you got to have some competence. I'm not saying you don't have to have competence.
You gotta have that.
Uh, you got to have it. But as you get to know people, you just might say, "Hey, this is not a good fit." But hey, this thing over here, I think you'd be really good at it. Let's move you over there, and you'll move them, and then that person that was average becomes exceptional, and
Yeah.
not only exceptional, they start doing the same thing you did with them, and that team starts to become exceptional. Um, so that's usually how I kind of go about handling, things within my control that I can control. Now, if I have something that's toxic above me, influence as much as I can. But over the years, I have a lot of options now.
That's where you
Um,
gotta have freedom and options. They
I have
become
freedom of.
important. And one option, and folks who don't know me or hadn't read my books, the option that Carlos and I are talking about is the option to fire the boss, which means
In this one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody's got it, right? For a frontline person can have that, a supervisor, a manager, engineers, customer service, anybody in life needs to set up their life so they got freedom and options. And the one option is to fire a bad boss. And
Yep,
it don't mean you have to leave the company. You may
yep,
stay in the company, but go get a different boss in that company, or you may have to leave the company. You may start your
yep,
own company. But freedom and options, life's good with freedom and
yep.
options, didn't you, Carlo?
Yep, it is. It is. And I know we asked that question before about dealing with toxic. I do want to encourage people, if you're in that situation right now, do not stop being yourself. Do not have the mindset of I'm not going to work in excellence, because that's only going to hurt you. Always have the mindset of I'm going to work in excellence, not because of who I serve, but because it's who I am as an individual.
There you go.
And also realize that you're dealing with the man in the mirror. So even in a toxic situation, you're learning. You're learning, one, what not to be as a leader. That's number one. And two, there is something that you can find that that person may be giving you feedback or maybe giving you something. But if you remove what is negative, if you remove what's meant to harm, there's something in there that you can take and that you can say, hey, you know what? Even though all of this might be negative, that's one thing that this individual did say is something I can work on. It is a gap. It is something that I can improve on. And you take that, and in your mind, you just continue to work and know, thank you for that. You're promoting me to my next opportunity. So,
That's right. You get a lot of education in there, right? And the key thing a person's got to do is remember everybody else is watching me. That's why I teach
Yep.
in the Frontlines book that you're working for yourself. If that way you're the same quality individual, no matter if you got a bad boss or a great boss.
Yep.
You're going to be the same, right?
Yep.
Where you do it may be different, but how you're doing it's going to be the same no matter where you at. So that's great, share. And we pulling up on the hour time frame. I was going to ask you real quick if you can share when you've gotten rid of a toxic person. Have you how have you seen that team respond to your leadership? Because they've been waiting on you to do it. You know
Yep.
that. Whenever a leader gets rid of a toxic person, everybody's like, "Finally!" Why did it take them 2 years or 1 year or 5 years or six
Oh,
months? Right? What
yep.
What have you
It's
seen? Have you seen your team respond to carry the load kind of thing until
yep.
you either replace them or? I've heard a lot of leaders say that when they got rid of a toxic person, finally, the ones who fought it forever, when they got rid of them, they never had to replace them because the team stepped up. Have you seen those kind of
Yep.
things?
Yep. In my last role as a general manager, we had some team members that I were just not a good fit. Gave them opportunities to improve. Didn't take anything. The leaders on the team gave them opportunities to improve. And just like you said, man, we made a decision to cut and to kind of move on. And the crazy thing about it is when you do it right, usually those meetings go like, yeah, I knew this was coming. Y'all have been talking to me. Man, I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry, this, and that. And then we do offer grace. Like even when I fire someone, I understand they have a family. Hey, here's maybe a temp service. You can find some work for the time being. But I do still try to leave a growth, like, your life is going to be what you make it, and character is important. So their next opportunity, just here's the things you made a mistake here, but just because you want to fit here, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful somewhere else. Just make sure to work on these things, and usually we can walk away clean. I've had instances where even people that I didn't even remember letting go or words, and they say, "Hey, man, I know you let me go here, but the words that you gave helped me, and this is what I'm doing now." And I'm like, I'm back in mainline, so I was like, I don't even remember that person. Like, man, but they took something. So hey, I'm glad that they did. But usually the team is happy, and you'll find that your production goes up because a lot of people are not going to continue to work along someone where you're making the same and they're coasting. Eventually, people are gonna be like, "All right, yeah, this guy's not working today. I'm not either."
Ain't beat them,
Uh,
join them, right?
yeah, join. So you just want to make sure you're getting rid of the people that's not showing up and it's not adding value in a positive way. And value's different. It's different for
Yeah, one
people.
of the things I tell folks, like you were just talking about, when the people, if you can't beat them, join them. And I always tell leaders, uh, whatever the worst character on your team is, that's what you get credit for. Whatever the worst is, and a lot of leaders don't understand that, but I have to help them understand. Whatever the worst character is, that's what you're saying is the minimum acceptable. You're saying that's okay. Anybody who steps up and is better than that as a person who has a higher degree of character,
Yep.
they get credit for that because whatever the bottom is, that's all you expecting, right? And that's
Yep.
that's kind of what same thing with performance, right?
Yep.
If somebody says if the leader's not terminating this guy or gal and she's running 80% productivity, everybody else running 100. Finally, people say, "Well, if 80% is acceptable, I'm gonna run 80 and I'm gonna take it easy.
Yep.
I go to the break room extra 5 times a day
Yep.
and sit in the bathroom extra 2 hours,
Yep.
whatever it is. I'm gonna join them." But that's what happens. So, man, I really appreciate you joining and sharing. And there's a episode of Real People Getting Real Results coming out today. Actually, right now while we're speaking, it's being released.
Nice.
And so anybody watching it, it's last week's episode, but you probably like to go watch it. It's Justin Poss. You may like to connect with him on LinkedIn, Carlos.
Just a cross.
He reminds me a lot of you. He reached out to me in 2022, and he had already been reading my books for like 4 or 5 years before, and
Oh, nice.
he's like you, man. He's up in New York. He's a director of manufacturing at Chobani Yogurt, the largest number one yogurt manufacturing company producer in the world, and I'm gonna send you a link to his CEO. Rhea shared with me. His CEO did a TED talk. It's called the Anti CEO, and it's a pretty cool story
Nice.
how he started Chobani, and just a personal story, and then how he leads there and what he expects, and so it's pretty cool. You'll probably like get some value out of watching Justin's episode, which is just coming out right now. So don't have two rock stars back to back. That's awesome, Justin and Carlos. But y'all need to know each other anyway, just because y'all on the, y'all high level leaders, high impact leaders. I think he's director of manufacturing. There's 1,200 people working in his plant, so I don't know how many report to him directly, but it's probably a lot of folks underneath his umbrella there. But he started out down at the bottom and grew his way up, and he's been
Nice. Nice.
he can quote my stuff like I do Covey's stuff. He just knows, like you do my books too, and you guys are on the same page. Anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share or talk about? Anything about your
Um,
personal journey? I know you'd like to coach and mentor, and I don't know where you're at in your business development there, but be sure to share anything if you're looking for something, people to help that kind of way. Put it out there.
Yep. I would say just I'm here to serve and here to help others grow. I feel like my life mission is to inspire, motivate, empower others to reach their potential. So if you're hungry and you're ready to grow, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Now, the people who do not need to reach out, if you're just looking to get promoted, just looking to make more money, this is not. I'm not for that. I'm more for those that are wanting to grow. As a result, those things come. But I want to make sure that the mindset is in the right place, which is the overall continuous learning, the growth, the leadership development to have impact on people. So if that is you, please reach out. But if you're just searching for just a paycheck, I'm probably not the person for you.
Yeah, if they focus on becoming successful, that ain't you. If they focus on becoming more valuable, that's you, right?
Yes, yes,
And you got a
that yes,
newsletter. You got a great newsletter you put out.
yes,
Talk about
sir.
that.
So I have a newsletter, and pretty much on that, I am sharing just leadership lessons. It's all centered around leadership, helping you become the best leader that you can be. Do those weekly. That's on LinkedIn. I have a podcast I'm trying to get back up and running. So podcast is two parts. On Sundays, I'm looking to share some biblical truth from the Bible, and then outside of that, I'm looking for that podcast just to add as much value on some leadership truths, insights, things that I've learned along the journey, and just to help you reach your potential from a leadership and personal growth journey. But at the end of the day, it's to inspire, motivate, and empower us to reach their potential. That's what my life is, and that's the legacy I want to leave.
That's phenomenal. And you talked about when you do this work that you've done, that I've done, you ain't focused on making more money, but that's a byproduct.
Byproduct.
That's a natural byproduct. Can you share, if you're willing to, not, it ain't got to be exact dollars, but can you share like multiples or percentages from the time you first read a leadership book to now? Has your income
Yep.
went up one time, two time, five time? Are you even
Woo,
aware of that?
man,
Have you thought about
man.
it?
Woo. So I will tell y'all this: when I first started, my first lead job was $13 or $15. My first promotion was like 50K. I started reading your books when right before I left DHL to go to Walmart, and that was a 30 or 40% increase. And then from there, man, it's been going well into the six figures now. But I would say this: the growth started in 2012. I didn't see the impact of it. Sometimes you that do not get discouraged with, I read a book, I'm about to get promoted today. It does not work like that. But what does happen is the compound effect will happen to where that jump from DHL to Walmart was one of the largest increase I had. And it was life changing for me and my wife at the time. We were trying to buy a house. That job allowed us to do that, down payment. First time, I'm going to share this story.
We got
When
plenty of
I
time, man. Drop it on
okay,
us.
okay, so uh, when I was at DHL, I didn't know my value, I didn't know my worth, right? I really didn't. I was just so excited. I was learning, learning, learning. Then my mindset changed, and I realized I was training other people in the same level, and they were making 15, $13,000, $15,000 more than me. And I'm like, man, hold on, something ain't right. I'm training, people that's making more. So at that point, I started entertaining because I already had people reaching out to me. I was doing little things on LinkedIn, not a lot. But Walmart reached out. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go and entertain it. It was literally the building right in front of mine. Went there, had the interview, longest interview I ever had, 5-hour interview. We were walking, and I was just being me. I was talking to team members as we walk. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? We were walking. I was picking up trash, putting in the trash can, and we got to the end, did the interview, and literally the next day, I got the guy called me. He's like, "Hey, man, never made an offer this fast, but making an offer to you." And he's like, "It's not anything you really said. It was how you were during the interview process. We're walking the floor. You were talking to the team, and you picked up trash, and that's one of our values here at Walmart. And I'm making the decision based off of that. You'll have the offer." So I was excited. I pulled over. I was on the way home. I was literally right in front of the building because that's where they hired. And when I saw their offer, I was like,
Yeah, I'm
I
going. I'll
thought,
be there.
and I called my wife and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, they just offered this. And she's like, did you ask for a sign on? I said, how dare you? I would not ask for a sign on with this amount of money. I said, do
No,
you
I
not know
asked
how
for a
much?
pen. All I need was a pen. Make it happen.
So my wife's just like, just ask for a sign on. So I was like, yeah, do you mind? Yeah, Mike, yeah, sign on. And I was so nervous. The guy's like, yeah, man, sure. How does 8K sound? Oh, yeah,
Then the wife said, "Okay, bring it on over. You don't deserve none of that."
okay. So, man, so that was the first big change, and then from there, man, we started doing leadership book study, and I stayed there for a while. Helped 3 leaders get promoted while I was there. One of them's goal was like, Carlos, I've been here for 5 years. I've been in the same position. This is what I want. And I was like, hey, you got everything you need to get there. Within 8 months, they got the promotion they wanted. They stayed a little while longer, and then they said, hey, I'm trying to move an apartment. I actually need to be here. And I said, all right, let's put a game plan together. We put a game plan together. They got that goal, and me and that person, they just continued to excel and grow. And the beautiful thing about leadership is, as you meet people that are hungry, you keep to bring those people along with you. So that's what they've been doing. They've been training and going other places and taking the talent with them. But man, that was life changing. But man, I'm in the 6 figures, and I tell people, if you stay with it, you're going to get around the right people, and what you learn compounds over time. And then you have that moment where all of it kind of comes together in just a crazy way. And you go from the 8 or 10% increase, and you have that crazy 40, 50% increase. And you're like, oh my goodness, how does this happen? But tell people, stay encouraged, keep reading, and it's okay rereading the same book. I do it all the time. I told Mac I'm about to start back on this one. Um, you just get something different every time. But just stay encouraged in your journey. If you're dealing with managers that are trying to manage you, just stay focused on the leadership journey. It's not a lot of us out there, but the ones that you meet, man, it's life changing. And
They value
yep,
you at a high level when you meet one.
yes,
Like when you come
yes,
across somebody who values this, they gonna get an offer, ain't
yeah. Without a doubt. Look, it's and yes, they're going to get an offer. Not only that, when you work for someone that is a leader, they not only get an offer, they get top dollar. Let me say that I brought in some leaders where they were trying to pay, and I was like, nope, a little higher. What's the max we can? Yep. Okay, thank you. Yep, I know what this person's going to do, and you put people in a better situation, and in return, you get you just don't get people's hands, you get their hearts, and that's what you want as a leader. You want people that want to come and work, and they see it just not as a job, but as a place where they're growing, they're developing, and it's changing their life and their family's life for the better.
I'm excited for your future, man, and all the future of the people that you out there helping and touching is really powerful. And can you just share percentage wise, and then I'll let you go. like a percentage wise of far back as you can remember? I know it's just a rough estimate, but how many people do you interview that talk about without you asking them and share about that they read leadership development books? And that, I mean, how many people? It's almost none.
It's Mac. It's yeah. That never gets talked about in interviews at all. And if you talk about it with, if you do an interview, you talk about it, and the person above, or the person you're interviewing doesn't read, that's just a red flag. Just don't even.
If they ain't interested,
They're not interested, then they're not growing. All the stuff they talk about opportunities is probably just something to get you in the door. They'll train you for 2 days, and then next thing you know, it's all right. You're on your own. So,
yep.
but
And you,
not many.
not many, probably less than 5% of the people that are the avid readers of leadership development and
Yep.
personal growth.
Yep. And I'm
Well,
I'm taking out the ones that I know that are doing it, that I've just brought on or have met, but the ones that no one's really reading.
that's how easy it is to stand out. That's why I wanted to ask you that. And because I know you probably heard my episode 26 on my podcast where I tell people to start reading, start documenting, create you a spreadsheet or a Word document of the books you've read, the title, the author, the date you completed them. And when you go to interview with somebody like Carlos, I promise you, if Carlos was interviewing you and whatever your resume says, it was even halfway acceptable relative to competency. When he sees that sheet of paper on the back, you've been reading all these kind of books that he's been reading, you're going to talk to that person, ain't you? They're going to go
Yep.
to the top of your list, Carlos. What do you
We
think?
won't even have an interview. We'll be talking about, oh man, tell me about the books. Because when people are reading, they're actively growing. You can ask questions, and you know that okay, they've been applying what they're reading. Yeah, this is someone I want on the team. Yep, without a
And it
doubt.
doesn't matter if they're entry level or the executive position, it doesn't make any difference. It tells
Nope.
you something special about that person. And when you're the kind
Yep.
of leader that you are and the kind of person you are, that's what you're trying to build a team of those. If
Yep.
you ever can assemble that team, and leaders like you, they got to develop that team, right? You got to build it. You got to get the good people with potential. Then you got to do the book studies. You got to do the
Yep.
development. Rhea and I got the Blue Collar Leadership Academy now, a whole video series on all of our books where leaders can use us to teach their folks. But somehow you got to do it, because sometimes people will say, well, we don't want the books. I say, okay, you ain't got to get books when we come to speak, but if you want to do what we're talking about, you either got to read some books, you got to listen to some podcasts, you got to watch some video, you got to develop somehow. You got to develop your team.
Yep.
Just bringing somebody in to talk to them once a year or something like that ain't gonna do much good. Make them
Nope.
feel good for a minute, but nothing's gonna change. You got to have a leader like Carlos on the team somewhere. It needs to be the top leader of an organization, cascading it down and expecting it. But I'm proud of you, man. You just getting warmed up, Carlos.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to be on this journey, and excited to be alongside great people like you, Mac. And man, we're gonna see each other again on this call tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll be on there. I'm excited to get on there. Yeah, that'll be Rhea's Ladder of Influence book. So
Yes, sir.
uh, I think that about wraps it up, man. You got anything else?
Man, Mac, we can go all day, man, if you want to. I don't have a problem with it.
Hey, what you ought to do, Carlos, you ain't got to do it, but if I were you, one guy has done it. One of the guys I did an interview with, but he took this video and made it a featured video on his LinkedIn so everybody could see
Oh, I
who
know I
he
could do
was,
that.
right? Anybody who does a video like this with me, because the video ain't about me. You made it a lot about me because you've read a lot of my stuff and I mentored you a lot, but it's really about personal growth and leadership development. But what it really does, whether you made it about me or somebody else, anybody doing these videos with me is showcasing you, right, as a person. Like you could go watch any of those videos that I've recorded with other people, and a leader like you, when you see it, you're gonna get the character side of that person,
Yep.
right? This is like you basically. I've told people, and some people have done this. People I've interviewed with, when they were looking for the next job, they took their interview and sent them, the YouTube link to whoever's
Nice.
hiring them, because they say, hey, I've done this interview with Max Story, and you can learn about me by watching that video. And if they really want to hire you, like if somebody who did that with you, you'd be wanting to watch that video because
Yep.
see who they are in an authentic kind of manner. This right here, it's why I'm so glad you got on here, Carlos. I don't know where your journey is going to go. It doesn't even matter where it's going to go. This right here is a good showcase for you, because that's the intention of it. I want people to know, anybody I interview, I want anybody watching to know who you are. I ain't worried about if they know who I am. If they watching, they probably already know. I want them to know who you are, and that's why Rhea and I decided to do this series, because I know so many cool people like you. And when y'all volunteer to help me help others, we all on the same mission.
Yeah.
And I still got a lot of people lined up. It's taking me forever to get all these folks, but it's pretty cool. I always recommend all of you, anybody watching or listening, connect with these people I'm interviewing on LinkedIn. Get to know this whole lineup of people, because all these people I'm interviewing, they're going somewhere, sometime. A lot of them already come from a long ways from where they used to be. So I look forward to seeing you in the morning, Carlos, on Jason
Yes,
Denham's
sir.
call. And anybody don't know Jason Denham, he was episode 1 in this series, so you can go back and watch the interview with Jason. Anyone listening, you ain't got nothing else, Carlos?
Man, I think we covered it. Covered about just about all of it.
All we can squeeze in without going all day, right? We could go all day.
We could.
All right, we might have to do a round 2 with you sometime down the road once I get everybody else at least a round 1, because a lot of the folks on here really will do follow-ups because all you are growing. So pretty much anybody I'm interviewing, by the time I'm able to get back to them, which might be a year or so, most of them are going to be at a whole different level. They can add, it's probably going to be an ongoing thing, and there'll be some folks who come back. So thank you again for taking your time.
Sir.
Appreciate you for all you're doing. Make sure you let me know about the Happy Kids book. Once you get that, you look through it. Yeah,
I got it.
Once the little one's old enough for you to use it, and if they're already old enough, once you see the book that you're able to do it, share with me about that. That might be something we come back and do a video about down the road, just talking about something about that. I don't know,
man.
make sure you let me
I would
know.
love that. I would love that, man. The impact of leadership on home life with kids. Yep, I would love that.
Yeah, so that'll be a neat journey you'll have with your son that you can share, but especially about that book, because we can talk about how you got introduced to it right here when you were doing this video. So it'll just all compounds.
Yes,
Well, all
sir.
right, sir. It's been a pleasure to get to see you. I don't always get to see you. I talk to you. We've had a lot of those 1-hour calls, haven't we? It wasn't just one. It's just
We had a couple. We've had a couple, man. All of it, man, during some tough times too, Max. So really appreciate you, man. Those were some. I know some of those calls were, man. They were tough. They were
you
tough.
handled them like a champ, though, and look where you at.
Yes, sir.
You just continuing to grow. There's gonna be some more tough times. Like I tell everybody, if life's good right now, you better put your life jacket on, because there's a tsunami on the way.
Coming. It is.
There's a tsunami coming for you. All you gotta do is keep living. It's coming. It's gonna hit you.
It's coming. It is. That is a true statement.
Personally and professionally. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
We just can't get off, Carlos. Ria's probably like, Mac done tried to get off like 15 times. He won't quit. We got to go mountain biking before it rains.
Oh man, that'd be nice. No, I'm trying to do some more outdoor stuff, man. I love walking. That's one of my things now, man. Walking, taking notes, reflection time.
As you get older, Carlos, you might want to check out mountain biking. It's super good. It works your upper body. It's cardio. I tell people on a mountain bike, you're more likely to get hurt, but on a road bike, you're more likely to get killed because somebody run over you.
Yeah.
You might wreck a mountain bike, but usually it ain't too bad. And but mountain biking is phenomenal fitness, because it just keeps your heart rate up, and
Nice.
it's phenomenal. I love it since I've been able to get back into it. But a lot of people, that's where I met Greg the other day on the mountain bike trail that I was telling you about earlier. He's out there riding, and any of us getting older, I'm 55 now. I know you ain't caught up with me yet, but keep living, you're going to catch up. So one day I'm going to quit living. But this extend our life, man. But I sure do appreciate it, Carlos.
Yes, sir. Me too.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. I hope you got some value. Make sure you connect with Carlos on LinkedIn, subscribe to his newsletter, and talk to you next time.